What's up, guys? So let's just jump into this Q&A. What is your experience with cluster sets and such to increase tonnage when you can't push enough reps in the straight sets? So generally speaking, I've used this a lot with like pull-ups in particular, and it's something where if you can do 5 pull-ups in a set and you're having a hard time getting more than that, you can do doubles and work your rest periods down. So do a if you're good for a set of 5, I'll have you do like 5 sets of 2 with 3 minutes rest. Then 5 sets of 2 with 2.5 minutes rest. Then 5 sets of 2 with 2 minutes rest. Working and a lot of times I'll throw an AMRAP on the end. So you'll do your 5x2 with 2 minutes rest. Then I'll have you rest like 3 or 4 minutes, and then do an AMRAP, and then you get your 3, 4, 5, whatever you get. And over time, I work those rest times down with the doubles. Normally I can get somebody where they're doing a 5x2, with 1 minute rest in between each sets. And then after 4 weeks or whatever the case may be, where they used to plateau at a set of 5, now after these 5 sets of 2, they're doing an AMRAP and they're getting like 8 reps, for example. And then you can build that out however you want to. You can go from 5 sets of 2, and you can add a rep. You can make it 5 sets of 3 and then an AMRAP. And but I like to start whatever they're topping out at. If it's 5 reps, if it's 7 reps, do set doubles, triples, something like that. Work rest periods down. You need to work down to like 30 seconds rest in between. And then I still like some rest and then an AMRAP at the end. And that's been my main use with cluster sets. I do EMOMs and stuff sometimes, with compound movements. But that's been more of a thing for me, just to like get effective reps, without doing as much volume, basically, and using higher intensity or bigger loads. But yeah, I've used them a lot with pull-ups, both with myself and with clients, to get people to be able to do more in one set overall and increase the volume. What's your take on doing weighted pull-ups on 2 different training days, one wide grip and the other shoulder width? Can you train both on consecutive days if that's the only time you can for time constraints? Yes and yes. Like doing them twice a week with different grips is totally viable. And if that is the only way you can get them in, and you are hell-bent on getting them in, and that's what your schedule allows, by all means, do them on back-to-back days. It's certainly not optimal, and I'm not going to tell anybody that like this is going to be the best way to do it, nor would I recommend doing it that way. But personally speaking, my 2 heaviest and hardest training days are back-to-back. They're on Saturday and Sunday. Again, not ideal, not what I would prescribe in ideal conditions, but I've got a lot going on in my life. That's the time I get to really go hard, is back-to-back days, and that's what I do. So it's one of those things. It's certainly a possibility. Like doing them twice a week, no big deal at all. Doing them back-to-back, it kind of sucks that you're gonna have to do them back-to-back. But if that's the only chance you get to do them back-to-back, it's viable. Just keep in mind that you are doing them back to back, and you're going to have to prioritize, whether you undulate prioritization or whatever the case may be. If you're doing the wide grip and other shoulder width. So if you're doing the wide grip ones first, just keep in mind, if you want to hit them the hardest that week, then go ahead and go the hardest with them on that day 1. And the following week, if maybe you want to hit the other grip the hardest, you can either put them in the day 1 slot, or you can keep them in day 2, but just take it a little bit easier on day 1 with your wide grip. Or you can go 4 weeks with wide grip number 1, or 6 weeks with wide grip number 1 and shoulder grip number 2, and then after that 4 to 6 weeks, switch it up and do the shoulder width grip on your day 1 for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and put the wide grip on the second day. There's ways to work around it. Again, not ideal, not the best case scenario, but you can certainly do it. How to know if I'm developing overuse injuries? Shit will start hurting. Pretty much you'll start feeling pains and stuff. the signs will typically be there. There's usually something happening, underlying issues that will make themselves known, and a lot of time us dumb meatheads just push through it, and that's when the big injuries happen. Recently started feeling mild pain on both knees, what seems to be meniscus ligament and maybe quad tendon. Not doing anything particular. Blah, 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 blah. Time to switch something around. Yes, if you are in pain and if what you are doing is not fixing the pain, it is time to switch things around. And that may even mean, taking a little bit of time away from movements you like, or taking movements out of the area altogether in some cases. I can't diagnose you over text, of course, nor am I a medical professional. But yes, if shit is hurting, that's a sign, and at bare minimum, you need to make some changes. Just wanted to say thanks for the bench Q tips. I tried the day after watching your reply. Massive improvement. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Recommendations for how to train on a cut. So it's obviously goal dependent, and I don't know exactly what your goals are other than you're losing weight. For me personally, I like to train novel movements, like things I've either not ever done or not done in a long, long time. And that allows me to make marked improvements on said things even while I'm losing weight. If I'm training like my big compound lifts that I keep in rotation all the time, I'm not going to see improvements. At this point, the level that I'm personally at, my shit is going to tank. That's just part of it when you get to this level. So I'll train novel movements. I also I like to train higher volume when I'm cutting as well. It feels easier on the joints and everything than being in that more heavy range. And there may be, I don't know if there's science behind this, I'd have to look it up, but training like a bodybuilder, obviously you think intuitively to do that while you're bulking because building muscle and stuff, which makes sense too. But I would also think that, training like a bodybuilder, signaling your body to grow muscle while you're in a deficit, maybe you're not going to grow the muscle the same way, but maybe it's going to hang on to it. That's some bro science and bro logic there. Was the difference between 450 and 550 really 11 years? No, it wasn't 11 years. It took me about 6 years to go from 450 to 550. Honestly, from 500 to 550 was the bulk of that 6 years. I think I'm wanting to say it took me 4 years to go from 500 to 550 itself. And we're talking like 11 years total training age, 0 to 550, which not 0 because the very first time I bench pressed it was like 135. But yeah, there's when you get way up there, it's hard. It's rough. And honestly, it took me tearing my meniscus, and then I just put all my chips in on bench press and OHP, and that year, 2019, is when I benched 550 and I strict overhead press 350, and I wasn't squatting or deadlifting at all that year. So yeah, it didn't take me 11 years, 450 to 550. It took about 6. And like I said, 4 of those was like 500 to 550. Genuine opinions on equipped lifting like squat suits and shit. So the meet I competed at was IPA Worlds, and it was predominantly a geared meet. I'm not the biggest fan. I think it looks fucking stupid. The judging is a little not as strict, even though the rule book reads the same, which, I don't care. That's their thing. All the geared lifters are here for that shit. And it seems like they're kind of playing their own game at this point. So be it. I know a lot of those guys and girls work hard. They train hard, and props to them. I have respect for them in that aspect. And, like having that amount of weight on your back and over your head suits or no suits, is fucking wild, and it's scary and dangerous. So again, respect for them in that aspect of it. But I think it's went too far at this point. I think the suits and the equipment have gone too far, and that's how sports go, and they'll continue to push that envelope. And it's not my cup of tea. How to do a handstand? I've done over 20 wall handstand push-ups, but can't do a freestyle handstand. I wish I could tell you some cool regression. I just kept trying them over and over until I could do them. Can you explain RPE a little bit and how it should be used? That is a loaded question. Um, and you're using it specifically in a program that I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with Bald Omni-Man's Raider program, so I can't speak specifically for it there. How I typically use it for my clients, early on we don't. And some clients I never use it with. Some clients, if we build a rapport and I get a good feel for them with what their abilities are and how good they can limit themselves and keep their ego in check, I will sometimes prescribe, like, hey, I want you to do 3 RPE 7 singles before you do these working sets, or I want you to do a RPE 8 set of 5, and here are your weight ranges that you need to be in. Unfortunately, like, some people, you can't say that, because you say, I want an RPE 8 set of 5 between 290 and 330 pounds, and they just take that as a challenge to do a set of 5 at 330. But basically, for me, RPE, we keep it simple, and you have to explain this on a personal level with what you're looking for, because RPE, an RPE 9 to me is 1 rep left in the tank. But there's also, are we getting hyped for this RPE 9, or are we doing a pretty calm RPE 9? Because you're going to get 2 different numbers and 2 different stimuluses. So really, you build a rapport with people, and you got to be honest with yourself, honest with each other. And if you're doing it on your own, you really have to be honest with yourself. But that's how I typically take it, is RPE. It's basically RIR in disguise. So RPE 9, 1 rep left over. RPE 8, 2 reps left over. RPE 7, 3 reps left over. Unless you have something that tracks your velocity, and then it's not RPE anymore. It's just RE. Or ROE, rate of exertion, not rate of perceived exertion. And that's way more accurate. But you got to be honest with yourself, and that's how I use it. It can be used in a myriad of ways. It can be used to auto-regulate singles, reps, AMRAPs. Take this weight, whatever, 250 pounds, and do an AMRAP to an RPE 7. So basically just, do as many reps as you can till you only feel like you have 3 left in the tank. There's a lot of different ways to apply RPE in your training, but you have to define, like, what that RPE is first. And then once you define it, then it can be applied across the board. If you're morbidly obese, is it more important to build muscle or lose weight first? Like, what is the major focus initially? You're doing both. Like, when somebody's morbidly obese, typically they're in a position where you can do both. You can absolutely build muscle and lose weight at the same time. You've got so much excess calories on you, extra energy on you, that being in that deficit, you've got plenty in the tank, and you're likely undertrained anyway, not been training as much. So just by virtue of cleaning up your diet and exercising, you're gonna do both. I would just focus on progressing my numbers in the gym while regressing my number on the scale at the same time, and you're going to see your strength rising and your body weight decreasing, and you're probably building muscle and losing fat at the same time. So I don't think I would focus like, oh, I need to build muscle or I need to lose weight. I would just focus, really, like you said, talking behind building the good habits, just focus on building the good habits and good shit's going to happen. And as long as you're in that caloric deficit and as long as you're training hard at the gym, you're going to do both at the same time for a good stretch. And I wouldn't overthink it. Peace!